After conducting over 900 interviews with people who have completely transformed their lives on Carnivore, I've uncovered some patterns, insights, and truths that I'd like to share with you in this video. What I'm going to share with you are not personal stories, but some common threads that I've found from the 900 plus interviews I've done from people that have left behind chronic disease and food addictions and are now living a pain-free life. And there's one key takeaway that I'm going to share at the end that I think really sums up Carnivore and why it works so well. Over the last 2 years, I've spoken to lots of different people. From lifelong vegans that switched to meat out of desperation, from doctors and scientists questioning everything they've been taught, to everyday people who never thought they could feel this good. In this video, I'm going to share some general insights I've gleaned from all of these interviews. Just before we get into it, do me a massive favor, click like and also please subscribe. It really helps out the channel and it helps to get the word out there about Carnivore to more and more people. When you start Carnivore, one of the most challenging things at the beginning is explaining to other people what you're doing. And that might just be at the office when people offer you food. Have this donut, go ahead, have the donut. Or it might be going out for lunch or dinner with colleagues, could be going out with friends, could be friends coming round to your place. Whatever the case is, you might have difficulty explaining what you're doing and feel like you need to justify yourself. The reality is most people don't care about what you're doing other than to make conversation. So if you stand out, like at a dinner or in the break room, then chances are people are going to go, oh, that's an easy conversation topic. Let's start with that. Why aren't you eating the donut? Tell me more about your diet. Why are you doing that? That sounds a bit weird. You mean you don't eat vegetables? But the reality is, no one really cares. They're all too worried about themselves. And you just gave them an easy topic to talk about. And so the message is, don't worry what people say, what people talk about. At the end of the day, focus on your goal with Carnivore. You will, however, notice a situation where at times family members may get hurt by your decision making. They may feel like it's some kind of an affront that you are not eating their food, or you don't always want to sit down at the dinner table at the time they want to sit down at the dinner table. This is a situation that you're probably going to have to handle delicately, but at the end of the day, you need to establish boundaries and you need to focus on, I'm doing what's good for my health. And for my health, at this point of my life, eating this way is the best thing for me. And it's hard enough for me to stay on this pattern of eating without having to worry about if I'm offending someone. So you need to set boundaries and you need to clearly communicate those boundaries. Of course, you need to do it delicately and diplomatically, but you need to communicate those and they can be non-negotiable. Just because you're not eating pizza with the family doesn't mean you can't sit at the table with the family and enjoy the conversation that goes along with that. You can be comfortable with that after a while, after you get over your cravings. You can be comfortable with that. And you have to also help your family to understand that they don't need to feel guilty that they're enjoying the pizza or they're enjoying the McDonald's, whatever they might be partaking in, or the dessert. They can enjoy it without feeling guilty. You not eating it is your choice and you're comfortable with that. One thing I've found over the last 2 years is that carnivores are really nice, giving people. Now, I know that's easy to say about any group that you happen to be in with, but think about it like this. What other group of people will willingly give up hours of their time for no gain to talk about their experience with something in the hopes of helping people around the world that they don't know. And that's the power of Carnivore. Carnivore is so good at making you feel so good. You want to share that message and you're happy to do it. This one might be controversial. I think failure is good. Failure kind of comes in two flavors, I think. First is failure where you kind of fall off the wagon temporarily. You might, go out with friends and you have that one naughty ice cream or naughty pizza or something like that once in a blue moon or just once. And I tend to look at that as a guidepost because what happens with that failure is that you will be reminded of why you don't do these things, you don't eat these things. When you've been eating a clean carnivore diet for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and you have that one digression, I don't think you should see it as a failure. I think what you should do is kind of wake up the next day and go, oh, yeah, I kind of feel pretty bad. That's probably related to the faux food I ingested last night. Better not do that again. I don't like this joint pain that's coming back. I don't like this kind of brain fog that's coming back. I don't like this congestion that's coming back. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. So there's that kind of, small falling off the wagon style of failure. Okay. And just be clear, I'm not labeling this as failure in a negative sense um, because I actually think failure is good. I call it failure because most people label it that way. Um, so the second type of failure is where you fall off for an extended period of time. So you might do carnivore for 3 months and then you kind of fall off and you realize before long, you've started eating the cereal again or the bread again. And then that's graduated to eating some more processed food. And then you find yourself in the supermarket looking at the health food aisle and granola bars and energy bars and all this kind of thing. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And a week in, and you're going, okay, what's happened? As long as you can recognize these things, they can be okay. The important thing is to have a focus of getting back on the wagon as soon as possible. Because, firstly, as soon as possible is important because the longer you go and let it continue and then you start eating the regular lunches with friends and all that kind of thing, the longer you let that happen, the harder it is going to be to go back to carnivore. And the longer you go, the harder it is to go back because you're not fighting against your willpower, you're fighting against your hormones. So get back on the wagon as quickly as possible. And remember this, nothing that's worth doing is ever easy. So if you get on carnivore, you've done it for a few months, and then you have a digression for a few days or a week or something, don't worry. Don't focus on, oh, woe is me. I'm an idiot. I'm bad. I can't do this. Just get back on the wagon. And you might fall off again. That's okay. Just get back on. Every time you fall off, just have a focus of getting back on, right? And as I say, nothing worth doing is easy. So taking care of your health is not easy. Starting a business is not easy. Getting that promotion is not easy. Finding that partner is not easy. All of these things are not easy. If they were easy, then when you get them, you wouldn't feel like, wow, you would feel like, oh, well, okay, that's interesting. You value these things because they're difficult to get. And no one has an easy ride of it because We've been poisoning ourselves for years with things that disrupt our hormones and make the inside of our body just go crazy. My fight to get to this point has been over 20 years, if you think of my starting point as the first time I did Atkins. The other thing about failing, trying again, failing, trying again, failing, trying again, and eventually having success is that if you are the kind of person that does something and you have success first time, every time you try something the first time you have success, then when you inevitably have a problem in the future, you don't know how to deal with it. You're too kind of weak to handle it, right? If you've done everything through trial and error, if you've tried, failed, tried, failed, tried, failed before you succeed, then one day you have a problem. You're in a much better position to deal with it. You're a much stronger person as a result. If you were told that your health is reliant on particular foods, creams, potions, clothing, supplements, pharmaceuticals, then someone has been trying to sell you something in the short term or over the long term. Which brings me to a related issue. Chronic diseases are not pharmaceutical deficiencies. If you're about to buy something for acne or depression or blood sugar or any of these things, consider, do I actually need a pharmaceutical intervention for this? Or could what I'm suffering from be related to what I'm eating? To reiterate, chronic disease is not a pharmaceutical deficiency. If it were true, that would indicate that human beings are fundamentally deficient, and the only thing that's made us whole is the invention of pharmaceutical companies, which makes absolutely no sense. Finally, you're in control. What you put in your mouth starts a chain reaction of events, and that chain reaction can either be neutral or bad. Now, when I say neutral, I mean the food you put in your mouth is nutritionally complete, and your body can just get on with the job of doing what it does naturally and extracting that nutrition from the food and fixing up what needs to be fixed up in your body and making everything run properly and processing whatever waste there is from that, and job's done. That's just the way things are meant to happen. That's neutral. Or bad reactions can happen. And when you introduce foods that we were never meant to eat, when you start pumping chemicals into your body because they are generally recognized as safe, then your body starts to react badly. The inflammation starts, and then it's just a waterfall of problems. Looking back on these 900 plus interviews, carnivore is not just another way of eating. It's a complete shift in how we think about food, health, and what our bodies are capable of. The threads I've shared today are just the tip of the iceberg. The most remarkable thing about this is the journey is ongoing, and every person's story is a new piece to the puzzle. And carnivore is gaining momentum. Above all, carnivore gives your body the ability to heal. If you'd like to share your story, send me an email to realzerocarb@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find out why they fear carnivore so much, check out this video next.